hear from Con Ed about the gears work and repair schedules at the college corners and other, other areas. Con Ed is spending a lot of money, like millions of dollars, on gears infrastructure, and that's good news. But the bad news is the roads are a mess while they're doing it, and people have been calling about their streets and wanted more information. I thought that it would be helpful to the community if Con Ed would give us a presentation. And now this is going to be going on next year also. What I'll do is I'm going to create a YouTube-like video of this, and then every time people complain, I'll just send them the link, and then I won't send you 3,000 emails next year. So, Orlando?
Supervisor Feiner, Board. I'm here to report that, well, my name is Orlando Alves, Con Edison Corporate Affairs. With me, I have Angel Ruiz, our construction supervisor for the, who's been on site with the construction that's going on, and Kelly Supaleo, our restoration supervisor. Again, we've been working out on Harvard Drive, Chatterton Parkway, and Dykeman. That gas main upgrade has been completed, and next week we'll work with the Greenburgh DPW to start the restoration on those 3 particular streets. We do continue to work out on
Can you mention the streets that they're going to...
Sure. Harvard Drive, Chatterton Parkway, and Dykeman Street. So the gas upgrade has been completed there, and we're going to start the restoration on those streets next week. We do continue to work on Alexander Avenue. That's going to continue into the month of November. And then depending on the weather, we'll do our best to try and do the permanent restoration there. If not, we'll do a temporary patch for the winter months and then address the permanent restoration in the spring. You have mentioned types of notification to the community, and you mentioned YouTube videos. We do put out a work notice to the area residents saying that we're coming, and then we also do an email blast. You mentioned maybe putting it on the community website, so that would be an additional piece of communication that we can get out to the community saying that we're coming, and then that way they have our contact information should they have questions to kind of like bypass you and come directly to us so that we can get them the information.
What's the time between the time you send the card and the time you actually do the work?
We try and get it out like 2 weeks in advance so folks get an idea that we're coming, and then there's a contact DL in case anyone wants to email us, and then there's a phone number that comes into our office that we can address resident concerns.
I had a few questions. Is this the appropriate time, or should...
No, yep, I've got the...
Okay, the first question is, how much capital funds has Con Ed spent in the town of Greenburgh this year on this work?
By the end of this year, we would have invested $8 million to upgrade our gas infrastructure within the town of Greenburgh.
Is this happening all over the county or just Greenburgh?
Throughout Westchester County, we are doing a lot of gas main upgrades, so we're hitting all the communities.
And how do you prioritize, the streets that...
Correct me if I'm wrong. We tend to replace, the old steel mains. We go from the oldest, and then we replace them with the plastic. So we review, starting the end of this year, we start to review what we're going to do next year. So we start reviewing the older mains and start replacing those.
So this could be going on every year now?
Correct. We'll continue to upgrade the steel to plastic mains. Yes. If we do, in addition to the regular scheduled main upgrades, if we do have an area where we're getting leak calls, we'll review that area to see let's go in there now, replace the main now, and not wait for the scheduled replacement.
Right. I remember a few years ago the town repaved a road. I forget where. I think it was near you, Kevin. And we repaved it, and then like 2 weeks later, Con Ed ripped it up. What type of coordination do you have with the town and all the municipalities? So if we're spending all this money on road repaving, it's not a waste of money.
Correct. We have put communications in place where we do work with your DPW. It's called a paving list. So, in the beginning of the year, we'll work with the DPW saying, what do you have scheduled for 2019 to pave? So that we can get in there before you do the paving to look at the gas mains, replace the gas mains, or even just to give you, a heads up to say, this has already been replaced with plastic, so we don't need to do any work there. And then prior to you, doing any street paving, we would go in and do a leak survey, into the residential areas as well. And we try and also communicate to the residents, if anyone's interested in doing any type of oil to gas conversion before the road is paved, try and give us a heads up before that so that we can, do that oil to gas conversion, dig the streets up now before the road is paved.
Is there any possibility that it could be more than like a year? Because let's say we repave a road now and we're spending like $1 million on the road or whatever it is, and then next year or a year and a half.
If you have a schedule that's going out for a couple of years, absolutely. We'll meet with your folks and look at your plans going forward and work with you. If you have plans to revitalize a downtown area or something that's coming down the road, we'll work with your folks to get out of their way before they start their project.
Yeah, if you're doing work, I know, for example, some people in Dobbs Ferry emailed me, they wanted wires underground. Is this like a time where you could actually put the wires underground while you're already going underground?
We visited that question approximately 5 years ago, and Dobbs Ferry chose not to pursue it. It's expensive. Currently, it's approximately $8 million a mile to go underground. But then it's also an expense to the residents and the business owners because they now have to convert and go underground to meet our new services. So, we'll gladly meet, again to discuss it and see if they really, do want to pursue that.
Right. And what other areas, I know you're doing College Corners, right now, and almost you're making headway on that. What other areas in Greenburgh is Con Ed, planning to work on?
In 2019, we're looking to do work on Yale Road, Amherst Place, Princeton, Cornell, and Rutgers. So we usually start to look at, our schedule coming into 2019, and we'll meet with your DPW to see, what plans you have for these particular roads. And then once we have a schedule in place, we'll reach out to the community as well to say that we're coming to do the gas mains.
One of the problems with College Corners and, last year with Juniper Hill, it was the same thing. People were complaining that it takes such a long time from start, to finish. And somebody said, why can't you just like dig up the road and then instead of doing like 10 rows at a time, do a couple, finish it, and then go to the next one, so you don't have these months of delays. Is there a reason for all these delays?
We typically tend to do a couple of blocks at a time, and we try to accommodate folks' schedules, because when we convert from the old service to the new, someone has to be home to let us in so that we can, transfer it over. So sometimes, that will delay us. Sometimes we'll hit rock or we'll hit other obstacles that will delay a project. But we try and do it in a couple of block radius, backfill, put temporary patch, and move over to the next section. So we do our best to do it in that fashion.
And for the typical property, what's the average time from start to the restoration of the roads?
The roads we like to do, we say 45 to 60 days after all the work is done that we try and get in there to do the permanent restoration, weather permitting. So within 60 days, we like to come back and do all the permanent restoration.
Is there any way that could be reduced? Instead of 45 days, it could be 20 days? I'm saying, I'm just...
Right, it's difficult to do, but if the project is progressing, we can absolutely do sections of it and start the permanent restoration, but we try and do, like I said, a couple block radius, do it, and then schedule that for final restoration.
Right. The other question I had, I'm sorry that I'm asking all these questions, is Con Ed under any mandate to do this work, or is this voluntary?
I think it's agreement, with the PSC that, we're looking to replace all the steel mains and replace it with plastic. A lot of, area growth has been going on. A lot of folks are interested in converting oil to gas. A lot of new residents are upgrading with, fireplaces, barbecue pit. So we've been doing a lot of upgrades to support that.
Also, this kind of plan you're going to be repaving the roads. I know the Village of Scarsdale passed a law saying that when you do a road, you're required to mill it and repave it. at your expense. Is that something that, will you have a contract with the town where you'll be paying for, say, the restoration of the College Corners road repaving and the other repaving that's going on?
What-
Hi, good evening. My name is Kelly Palaio. I work with the Restoration Group. I'm also involved with the joint paving efforts that we speak to many of the municipalities throughout Westchester County. We are in an agreement with a Juniper Hill project that we have come to negotiation with, that the town of Greenburgh will be performing the restoration, and we are funding our areas of disturbance for the town to get their contractor in. We're looking to do that same process with College Corners.
What about the other roads that are happening around the town? That means that they'll pay for it. We hire the contractor to do the repaving, and they give us the check to pay for it.
Yeah, so instead of our contractor coming in, it gives the town the opportunity to take care of the roadway and do it at their timing.
And then we're supervising it, and
Right.
we make sure that the contractor does a good job. But I have a question, since there's $8 million of work, and the College Corners is only one of many, road areas. Are you receptive to doing the same thing for the other areas?
We would be open to negotiating any roadways that the town is
Yep.
interested in.
No, that's
Yes.
great. Yeah, I thought you did a very nice job on Juniper Hill. I was riding my bicycle up there about a week ago, and it was really, I was very, very pleased with how nice the road looks. And then, the last question I have, and then I'll ask other board members of the community if they have questions. Why were the roads in College Corners left in such a bad condition for such a long period of time?
Okay, I can have Angel talk specifically to that. He is the construction trenching supervisor for the town of Greenburgh for Con Ed.
Good evening, everyone. The roads, we put down temp repair, and we tried to maintain them throughout the project. I know that from the Dykeman area down to Andover, the roads were really bad. It's just underneath the roadway, it's all rock. So I had the contractor take up what was there and replace it recently. But, we tried to maintain it as we went on with the project. Up until recently, my only contact with Greenburgh was through our public affairs department, but I started working with Martino, who's been great since then, and we've been in contact with any concerns that he's had in that area. So, if there were any concerns moving forward or whatever, I can stay in contact with Martino and address them right away, like I did with that portion going down. Because that portion going down from Dykeman to Andover was pretty bad.
Great.
And we addressed it recently, so.
Right. Anybody from the board have any questions about the gears work? Anybody from the community?
Yes, there are several people here from the community.
No, this is just for the Con Ed. It's separate. Right, this is only about Con Ed, this portion.
So there are about 10 people who have signed up to speak with regards to Con Ed. Anyone else who is here to speak on other topics, please be patient. And I'm going to start with Anna Brown, related to Con Ed. Yes. Thank you. Please come to the podium.
Hi, I'm Ann Brown. I live at 12 Andover Road, and I have several questions. One, Andover Road was not addressed in your discussion about when it would be finished. And I'm very concerned that there's a steel plate in front of my driveway. I want to know how that's going to be removed and how that road is going to be smoothed out so that my husband, who has had a stroke, can get out of our house during the winter. I'm sorry, I'm sure that you mean well, but what you said about how the roads have been maintained and what the problems, it is atrocious. I think all of our cars, all of us who live in College Corners will all need to have wheel alignments. We have dents on our cars because rocks have been hitting our cars because the pavement the repaving has been atrocious. It's bumpy. I don't understand why, if an effort has been made to put down asphalt, why it's not smoothed out. And I don't understand why we have these big rocks that are hitting our cars, and why we have plates all over the road, and we've had them for many, many months. It's outrageous what's going on in College Corners. It is outrageous. It's my understanding that the town was supposed to be supervising the repaving efforts when this stuff happens, and there's been no supervision at all. I actually tried to get out of where I live to get to the train one morning, and a backhoe backed completely down my road, backed almost into our car with no flag person there. It has been outrageous, and it continues to be outrageous. I'd just like to know when when my road is going to be repaired, Andover.
I will definitely have to find out, and I will respond back and get your timeline for that.
Are we going to be able to get these roads plowed? Is the asphalt going to be smoothed out so that a plow can actually come into College Corners and clear the road?
We'll look at all the patches and make sure that they are smoothed out, and then plates, we'll address trying to get all of the plates out of there before the winter months come in, yes.
You'll try?
Well,
I mean, how will we get out if we have plates on the road?
So we're gonna move on, right? We don't wanna have this kind of exchange. I think, listen to everyone's comments, take notes, and then respond.
The next speaker is Emma Barrow. Please correct me if I'm mispronouncing your last name. Barker. Oh, boy, I was way off. Thank you.
So I'm with Village of Dobbs Ferry, and we've been appointed by the mayor, several of us, to be on this downtown improvement task force. We've had many workshops, and we have the community around us, businesses and residents who are all very much in favor of burying the wires. So I just wanted to address, I know you mentioned that 5 years ago this came up. Well, today isn't 5 years ago. I'm sure it's, different scene in terms of the amount of wires that are overhead. We have a different government completely. We have different people living there. And so it's a new day. And we would like to look at it that way with you, rather than think about what happened in the past.
And we'll be glad to meet and
Yeah,
discuss
and I
again.
suppose the issue is that the village doesn't have $8 million. And I find it hard to think about, when Paul said, what did we spend, Con Ed, in the whole of the county? $8 million. But for 1 mile of Dobbs Ferry, when the roads are already opened, how would it cost $8 million to put the wires down? So that seems hard to believe.
That, again, that's something that we can, meet again. I think you have my contact.
You know what's sort of interesting, because I remember, because I was working on this underground wiring since I was like in high school for like years, and you can say I didn't get much that far, but basically, I think a few years ago, the state appropriated funds, state funds, for like a pilot project for underground, wiring. And, one of the suggestions I have is if the village of Dobbs Ferry, is interested in doing this as part of like a major downtown revitalization, effort, and we reach out to Andrea Stewart-Cousins, who has a good shot at being majority leader, of the Senate, Tom Abenante, you have the village and Con Ed, maybe we could encourage this, maybe if there's still state funding, maybe we could, maybe there's a shot at, at making this a pilot project for, for the state.
Public improvement
Right.
project with new sidewalks, new street,
Right, right.
we again,
Yeah.
we have no
Yeah,
objection
so,
with you and
Okay.
discussing that further.
That would be great, because there is a lot of residents and new businesses, and it's worse than many other small villages. It's very oppressive, because so much development has happened. And so I think we've suffered as a result of that in terms of the aesthetics of the town.
Yeah, I'd reach out to all the, the merchants, and then maybe see if you could have like a meeting at some point, and I'm happy to attend.
Okay,
Thank you.
that'd be great, thank you.
Anna Guglielmo. Thank you.
I'm sorry, just a request that you use the microphone, and even though Hello, everybody. My name's Alana Guglielmo, and I live at 63 Harvard Drive, the very top of the hill. This is my son, Kaio, and we moved here in the summer, and I echo a lot of your comments with saying that it's been, they park all of their equipment across from our house, and it's very loud in the mornings, and we've definitely had some issues. In fact, I also saw a backhoe almost go into a school bus that was going into the school that's right there, the 2nd and 3rd grade school. So that was a little jarring. There was not a flagger there when I saw that happen. But luckily everybody's okay and there wasn't an accident. Anyways, this is my son Kaio. Again, he turned 11 last week, and every morning he goes outside to wait for the bus across the street, and he and I both fear crossing our street because we're about 15 yards from the peak of the hill where there's no stop signs or sidewalks, and cars just come racing over the hill. And by the time any of us are able to look both ways, there could be a car right in front of us. Speaking of which, and I'm sorry that this is not directly related to them, but I just wanted to get this out there since we're discussing repaving. Anyways, on the day before his 11th birthday, a car came bolting down the hill and had to screech not to hit him, even though there was a school bus there with the stop sign out and the lights. Sorry. Anyways, Mr. Feiner, I've emailed you about this previously, and you reviewed or received a fast response. I sent a follow-up and never heard back, so we're here today to formally request that speed bumps be put on Harvard Drive to keep my children, my family, and the rest of College Corner safe.
You know, we could, Chief, we could look at, the speed, bumps, and, maybe another thing that we could do is, maybe we could have somebody from the police and, DPW, meet, say, on site, like at the location, and then discuss initiatives that can make the road safer, if you
Okay,
want. If you call me, if you email me, then, we could schedule a time and, we'll have everybody there.
Okay, cool. I thought it was just easier to get this in while we're discussing repaving and
Good.
kill
Well,
all the
thank
birds
you.
with one stone.
Maybe at the end, when you're going out, speak to the chief, and he'll take
He's in the back.
address and
Raise your hand.
information.
Chief, there he is.
Yep, there he is.
We're actually going to leave in a second because he's got to go to bed, so.
Yeah, and
But-
we're also having, since you're a new resident, we're having a new residence reception on November 15th at the Theater Young Community Center from 7 to 9, and you and your son and family are invited to join us.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you.
And I also have a new residence packet in my office, office of the town clerk, right across the hall there. Thank you. Sarah Colombo. Okay. Thank you, Sarah. Okay. Leah, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Tassan? Len. Is it Len? Thank you, Len. Thank you. So
I'm
who
Len
wants to-
Tassler, I live at 35 Andover Road. Con Ed came up and just finished the end of a cul-de-sac last Thursday. Plates all over the place. They haven't been back. Nobody's been there for almost a week. And I don't know what's happening. It's just terrible. I got plates in front of my driveway. I have a shared driveway. There are huge plates there. They took out all the valves. Nothing's been done. I haven't seen anybody. It was 2 weeks they're working on it, and it's just been horrible. Harvard Drive was the beginning of the summer it started, and it was like a moon crater. I had to go for alignment for my car recently because I wore through my tires. I hope you guys can reimburse me for that because it was just horrendous. Can you guys do that for me?
We'll send you a link to our claims, please.
Okay.
We'll have them look.
Could you maybe mention, what people should do if they have a claim? Maybe if you could just,
Got to go to the mic. Len.
If folks have a claim, please go to our website, conedison.com. Go to the bottom left-hand side. There's a form that says claims. Just complete the claims form and just submit. It's an email, or you want to mail it, whatever best option, and get it over to us, and we'll take a look at that.
and could
address it.
you also mention, just as a follow-up to your comments, people see the steel plates, and then they don't see workers there for like days, weeks. What's the reason for that?
Sorry. At times, we have the crews come in and they lay, the service pipe. So now that they're putting that pipe in place, and then a second crew comes in and starts to do all the tie-ins to the resident's home. So there are two different crews going out to the location. So there is the first crew that drops the pipe, you know, in the trench, prepares it for service, and then once all of that is completed, then the second crew comes in and they start taking the new the new pipe, starting to bring in the service to, you know, to the new residents, and start decommissioning the old gas service.
So-
So there is a lag time.
So you
between-
you may have crews that,
It could take a couple of weeks, because, you know, we try to accommodate resident schedules, saying, you know, if you only work nights, you know, so we'll do days. If other folks work, you know, and they can't, so we try to accommodate everybody's schedule to get it done. And we really can't decommission the old main until everyone's on the new main, and then we can, you know.
and you may have crews go, you know, like say the crews that put the metal plates, they may be going all over the county on a given day.
Well, they're within our, you know, the region, so
Yeah.
again, we'll look at addressing the placing, getting them
I
out
see.
before the winter months,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
Pretty much answered. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. or Ms. Augustin Myrtle? Al Augustin Myrtle? Okay. Eric Ulbrich?
You know, Orlando, as Mr. Holbrook is coming up, you know, obviously this is an issue that people have, and maybe at some point you and your team may want to take some of the people in the back and speak to them about some of the individual
In the
issues
lobby,
in the lobby, and give them more information so they have more confidence that, you know, some of the issues that are particular to them are going to be addressed. Absolutely.
Hi, my name is Eric Ulbrich. I live at 36 Yale Road. You mentioned replacing the gas mains on Yale Road. Can you give me a timeline on that? Next year.
Right.
Okay, and then as far as
I'm
repaving
sorry,
Yale
sorry,
Road,
excuse me. You
is
can't do
that
that because
also
we didn't hear the answer.
going to be?
No, you can't, you got it.
You could just,
Or you could repeat his question and give
So,
the answer.
Yale Road is on schedule for next year. We didn't want to start that road and cause any more disruptions in the area, so we're going to put that work off until next year.
So that will be you're going to replace the gas main and repave Yale, correct?
Yes, correct. So that's going to be an insert, so you won't have, it won't be an open trench all the way. We're going to insert through the existing gas main when we get to that point. So you would just have the patches in front of the property where the service tees are, restored.
Is there an email address or contact information that, you know, particular residents can have to communicate with Con Ed with respect to some of these issues? Yes, you know, as I mentioned earlier, we do have a distribution email address, so it's dl-westchester.rca@coned.com. And again, the work notices that we put out there, we have that email address, and then we also have a phone number. I'll leave the phone number too, 914-925-6361, and that's corporate affairs, so we'll answer that call, and then we'll get an answer to the residents. So if this resident has a question about the timetable, you'd be able to specifically contact him? Yes, absolutely. It's, yep.
No, don't.
Sure. Our DL is dl-westchester.rca@coned.com. Phone number was 914-925-6361.
Excuse me, sir, are you saying DA or DL?
DL.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I just wanted to thank the town and Con Ed for being proactive in replacing the gas lines.
Thank you.
Peter or Porter Westrel?
Hi, thank you for allowing us to be here. My name is Peter Westrel, and I represent the Hunters Run Homeowners Association in Dobbs Ferry.
Adria Doherty, President of the Homeowners Association.
The reason that we're here is to right a wrong. In February, there was a Con Ed issue that was not addressed throughout the summer, and it wasn't until Mr. Finer's office on August 28th that interceded that allowed communication to take place. We have work that's been done. I'll let you talk. Here's some pictures.
Work was done in August. A hole was left in the community. It's has a board over it, it has some sawhorses around it, but nothing has been closed up since August. We have a school bus stop there, we have kids playing there, we have Halloween coming, it's getting dark earlier. It's a major concern for the community. We need this closed up. It's ridiculous how long it's taken.
Just to reiterate, the reason that we're here is hoping that you folks can put pressure on Con Ed to get this done. Because it's certainly not being done by Con Ed.
Can you just reiterate the address where the hole is?
It's 100 unit on Hunter's Run. 102, I think it is.
We even had to hire an electrician to find a Con Ed meter. That makes no sense to me. If it's Con Ed's meter, why don't they know where it is? It's just mismanagement and terrible customer service.
Orlando?
Can we get some kind of timeline to get this filled in?
If I'm not mistaken, and I'm following up on Hunter's Run, there were some issues with the streetlights inside the development, and that typically is done by your electrician that repairs the streetlights. When we went back in August to backfill that hole, they noticed additional work that needed to be done, so we didn't want to backfill it, redo all the restoration, and then come back again to dig it all up to do the additional work. So I did have a conversation with your property manager, and we're working to get that resolved as quickly as possible, because, again, we don't want to, I think some additional lights are out, so we don't want to, again,
We do need to have
we
some
are-
resolution. I mean, we've had promises it'll be done Thursday, it'll be
but
done
understood.
Friday.
And we didn't, we went there, the crews went there to do the restoration, do the backfilling, and again, when they noticed the additional problems, let's hold off on it. Let's make the permanent repairs so that we don't have to come back here again and do it again. So, like I said, I did speak with the property manager, and we're trying to get it resolved, very quickly.
I just would want to say, I know I've always beaten up on Con Ed, but that's been the history of my life. But the thing is, Orlando really does a fantastic, job. I'd say probably 90% of the complaints that have forwarded to him in recent years get resolved quickly, and I feel that he'll take your concerns seriously, and I'm optimistic that you'll get results, and you could keep me informed. Thank you.
Joel Wertzler?
My name's Joe Worsley. I'm at 81 Harvard Drive in Hartsdale, College Corners. Pretty much a lot of people have touched base on everything that I had concerns about. Not only did my wife have cracked rims on her car with the low-profile tires, she's had 3 blowouts because of the conditions of the roads. I'm going to submit a claim to Con Edison, and I hope it gets reimbursed because it wasn't cheap. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Mart? Arsiri? Arsiri, okay, that was close.
Hi, my name is Mark Arsiri. I reside at 25 Amherst Place. I'd like to thank Con Edison for being here tonight to hear our concerns. I unofficially represent about 75 families in a group email, and Paul Feiner, you've seen our emails. A couple of the concerns you've already addressed. One of the biggest complaints has been the quality of the temporary repair, especially on Harvard Drive. I refuse to use that road. I go around it. It's been like that. There was mention of a 45 to 60-day window. That's simply not true. That road has been in disrepair for, Joel, would you say March? March of 2018. So there's no truth to the 45 to 60-day window. It seems to me, and I don't know, just over the border in White Plains on Alexander, there has been patch paving. I don't know if the city of White Plains does that on their own, or that's something that White Plains takes initiative on. But you've obviously finished the work on Harvard. It's been patched over. Because of our complaints, it's been temporarily patched. But some of the complaints you already heard about, the loose asphalt, the lack of cleanup, unsecured staging areas, a staging area on Dykeman, which is a very narrow street that is not really an appropriate place to stage your wood and your equipment. It seems that your subcontractor is substandard in their work, and it's really been unacceptable to us, and it's been an inconvenience for all these months. We feel that temporary repair should be better. We understand it's a very important job that you're doing. But if you're going to do a temporary repair, that's going to be, we're going to have to live with for several months. We'd like to see a better repair, a repair that can be driven over, that we don't have damage to our cars, that we don't have rocks flying up, and we have better secured staging areas. Some of the concerns that the lady that mentioned, Paul, there was already a survey done by Greenburgh Police. We had previously complained about that. We hope that you'll take some initiative in that whole thing with the speed bumps and the repaving and all, as an aside. Those are the kinds of things I'd like to see. Aside from that, these are the things we'd like to see addressed from you as Con Ed representatives. I know personally I did an oil to gas conversion. Took a very long time to complete, and that wasn't the biggest problem. The biggest problem was a lack of communication over the 9-month period it took me to personally get an oil to gas conversion on Amherst. And also, I have not seen the notifications that Orlando had referred to. We've asked for project plans, timelines. I think the communication is really lacking, and so hopefully, as a result of this meeting, these communications will be better. And if I've overlooked something on the notifications you talked about, please let me know. Thank you.
Sorry, there are no further requests?
Anybody else have a comment?
No, not on
This is
the
only about Con Ed.
You want to speak on Con Ed? Yes. Oh, okay. Pat Weems?
I'm here on behalf of,
Could you go up to the microphone?
are you able to? Can I speak loud? I'm loud, period. Can everyone hear me? Thank you.
Orlando, do you mind? You can lift it, probably lift it off.
And when I get upset, I get loud. I'm here because I'm president of the Fairground Civic Association. And Con Ed came on Chester Place and Riverdale. You dug a hole, and you contracted a crew to be there. Gas was in my house, and this is August. All of the windows were open. People were working in my yard. You can't believe it, but they were. And the garage door was open, along with the door coming into the house. All of the windows were open. I sent my godson outside to tell them to send the crew chief in. When he came in, I said, I smell gas, and he said, I could smell it at the door. Now, there was no gas problem before that. Ultimately, what has happened is Con Ed came and they didn't have a permit. The contracted person said, well, I don't have a permit, or he couldn't tell me what they were doing. He called for an inspector for Con Ed to come in. Con Ed came in with the inspector came in. He came in and he told me he started in my basement. He followed the pipes all the way through my house up to my 5 range. I have a 5 burner range, and gas was leaking every place. Had I not been at home that day, it would have been the same thing in Massachusetts, 39 houses exploding. That worries me as president of a civic association and for the people in my community. Now, I'm thinking that it stopped there. I have gas. I don't use oil. So all of those leaks that I didn't have before, I had. I was told that they turned off my meter and that I'd have to have a plumber come in. Plumber came in, charged me $1,200 off the bat. You got it? That doesn't even include the price I'm going to charge you all to replace my stove. In the interim, by using my convection microwave, I blew that out too. So we're compounding errors. Now, Con Ed is one of the companies that I know that when you talk about $8 million, you're not talking about Con Ed's money. You're talking about the customer's money who we pay Con Ed, who is guaranteed a profit. You don't go on a loss ever. You come to our communities, I expect you to do a job. But more than that, I expect Victor Carosi, who is the Department of Public Works, to be the individual who overlooks my safety. He told me, when I sent an email to Paul Feiner and to him, that he explained to me what you we're supposed to do, and that I needed to write Public Service Commissioner. Is that ridiculous? He does not have a safety factor. If there was a problem and you came on an emergency reason to be there, I can understand not having a permit immediately. But when you're coming on an emergency, I expect you to notify my fire department, Chief Reese. I expect you to notify Carosi and tell him we have a problem here. That wasn't done. I hold you all responsible for that. You need to do it. Now, all of these addresses he gave you here, they don't work. In fact, I believe that Christine Napoli and Kevin, and the 925-6207 that I call every day for Jeanette, you know, they don't answer. There's no response. I started on October the 8th when I got my final permission, you know, for the change the card over, to turn my, get the blue card, right. Okay, I started then. On October the 8th or the 9th, I sent an email to new claims at, I'm ignoring that, new claims at, no, but this is for all of these people here who are going to call these people and not get an answer. And see, that doesn't do anything but frustrate you even more. And then when I go to Victor Carosi and tell him that's your job, you're supposed to see to it that you have the information. Why were they there? I haven't gotten that information from Con Ed yet.
There are other people who also want to make comments.
I know.
Fair to those people as well, right?
But I wanted to be, and I wouldn't have to ask these questions if Victor Carosi had done his job. I'm here about that one.
Victor Carosi is here too, and I'm sure he'll.
Good. I'm glad he is here. On that one, I will end with that. But I do want you to do something about, Paul Feiner wrote a letter to Con Ed in May. I got a copy of it. He sent it to all Civic Association presidents. I had to write a letter to them in July. They don't answer.
Okay. So
With my money.
after Ms. Weems?
Are there any other speakers regarding Con Ed?
Well, Ms. Brown, is it Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Okay. Is it okay that she speaks?
Yeah, that's fine.
I just have a question, one simple question. My question wasn't answered. They said they would get back to me, so I would like to know how how and when that will happen.
Okay.
How does that happen?
First of all, I think that Orlando has agreed to meet with you right now in the back, and maybe the board or the supervisor wants to schedule a follow-up meeting so we can see if some of these issues have been addressed in a timely fashion.
Okay, thank you.
She did speak.
Great.
We do just speak to a few people with respect to Con Ed, maybe in the back.
So we'll end the discussion on the Con Ed Gears work, and again, thank you very much for joining us.
Orlando, thank you.
Thank you.